Okene was a small town in Nigeria where everyone knew each other. The houses were close and the people shared meals, stories, and their lives. Adenoyi was a curious 15-year-old boy who loved asking questions. His family lived next door to a kind woman named Mama Ojo. She was loved by everyone, especially Adenoyi. One quiet afternoon, Adenoyi was playing outside when he heard people shouting. Mama Ojo had been found dead in her home. It was shocking because she was so kind and gentle. The whole town of Okene was sad. The local police came but said they couldn't figure out what had happened. Adenoyi couldn't stop thinking about it. How could such a good person die in such a bad way? Adenoyi had always been curious, and he believed every problem had a solution if you looked hard enough. While others gave up hope of finding out who unalived Mama Ojo, Adenoyi made a promise to himself. He would find the person responsible and make sure they faced justice. That night, Adenoyi couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about how Mama Ojo always smiled at him, gave him treats, and told him stories. She was like a second mother to him. He decided to rest until he uncovered the truth. His first step was to look closely at Mama Ojo's house and see if he could find any clues. The next morning, Adenoyi went to Mama Ojo's house. It was quiet now, but something caught his eye. There was a strange mark on the ground near her door, a footprint. It didn't look like anyone in the neighborhood's footprint. It was bigger, like someone had come from another place. Adenoyi quickly took a piece of paper and copied the shape of the footprint. He knew it was important to remember small details. This was his first clue, and he felt excited but nervous. Would he be able to solve the mystery all by himself? Adenoyi decided to ask the neighbors if they had seen anything strange the day Mama Ojo left the world. He started with Baba Musa, an old man who always sat on his porch watching people pass by. Baba Musa told Adenoyi that he saw someone in a red hat walking away from Mama Ojo's house around the time she died. But Baba Musa didn't know who it was. This new piece of information made Adenoyi even more curious. He now had two clues, the strange footprint and the person in the red hat. He was getting closer, but there was still so much to figure out. Even though Adenoyi was brave, he was also scared. What if the person who unalived Mama Amina found out that he was looking for them? What if they tried to hurt him? He thought about telling his parents, but he didn't want them to worry. Instead, Adenoyi decided to keep his investigation a secret. He would continue looking for clues and talking to people, but he would be careful. He reminded himself that solving this mystery was important, and he couldn't stop now. One afternoon, Adenoyi noticed a man he had never seen before walking around the town. The man was wearing a red hat, the same kind Baba Musa had described. Adenoyi felt his heart race. Could this be the culprit? He watched the man from a distance, trying to figure out where he was going. The man didn't seem to know anyone in the town, and he walked with a nervous energy. Adenoyi decided to follow him, but he made sure to stay hidden. Adenoyi followed the man to a small alley behind the market. The man looked around, checking if anyone was watching. Adenoyi held his breath, trying not to make any noise. The man then disappeared into a house that Adenoyi had never noticed before. It looked old and abandoned. Adenoyi knew he had found something important, but he was scared to go any closer. He decided it was best to leave and come back later when he could figure out a plan. Adenoyi knew he couldn't do everything alone. He decided to ask his best friend, Oyiza, for help. Oyiza was a smart girl who always had great ideas. She was also very brave, and Adenoyi trusted her completely. When Adenoyi told Oyiza about the man in the red hat and the abandoned house, her eyes widened. She agreed to help Adenoyi, but they both knew they had to be careful. If the man was dangerous, they needed to come up with a clever plan. After school the next day, Adenoyi and Oyiza met up to talk about their plan. They decided that they would keep watching the abandoned house to see if the man came back. If they noticed anything strange, they would go to the police. They also agreed to tell no one else about their investigation. They were both excited but nervous. What if they were caught? But Adenoyi reminded himself of his promise to Mama Ojo. He had to find the truth, no matter what. That night, Adenoyi couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the man in the red hat and the abandoned house. What was he hiding in there? Was he really the person who killed Mama Ojo? Adenoyi's mind was filled with questions. He stared at the ceiling, wondering if he was getting closer to solving the mystery or if he was putting himself in danger. He knew that tomorrow would be important. The next day, Adenoyi and Oyiza went to the market after school and watched the alley from a safe distance. They waited for hours, but the man in the red hat didn't show up. Just as they were about to leave, they saw movement near the house. It wasn't the man in the red hat, but someone else, a tall woman with a big basket on her head. She knocked on the door, and after a few moments, the door opened slightly. Adenoy couldn't see who opened it, but it seemed like something important was happening. The woman with the basket didn't stay long. After she left, Adenoy and Oyiza ran to the house to see if they could find anything. Near the door, they saw a small piece of paper on the ground. It looked like it had fallen from the woman's basket. Adenoy picked it up and saw that it was a letter, but the handwriting was messy and hard to read. He and Oyiza decided to take it home to study it. They knew this could be another clue that would help them solve the mystery. That night, Adenoy and Oyiza tried to read the letter, but it was full of strange words. It mentioned something about a payment and a promise kept. Adenoy's heart raced. Could this letter be a message between the culprit and the people helping him? They didn't know exactly what the letter meant, but they knew it was important. They decided to keep it safe and figure out more about the people who lived in the abandoned house. A few days later, Adenoy saw the man in the red hat again. This time, he was standing near a small shop, talking to someone. Adenoy was tired of hiding. He wanted answers. Adenoy gathered all his courage and approached the man. "Who are you?" he asked boldly. The man looked surprised and nervous. "Why are you asking?" The man replied, his voice shaking a little. Adenoy could tell the man was hiding something, but he didn't know what. The man quickly walked away, leaving Adenoy with more questions than answers. Adenoy and Oyiza decided it was time to tell the police about the man in the red hat and the abandoned house. They took the letter with them and showed it to the police officer in charge. The officer listened carefully and promised to look into it. But days passed and nothing happened. The police didn't seem to be making any progress. Adenoy felt frustrated. He had hoped they would take action, but it seemed like he would have to keep investigating on his own. One day, while walking past Mama Ojo's house, Adenoy noticed something he hadn't seen before. There was a small hole in the wall near her window. He looked closer and saw that it wasn't just any hole. It looked like someone had drilled it there to spy on her. Adenoy's mind raced. Could the culprit have been watching Mama Ojo before they attacked? This new clue made him even more determined to solve the mystery. Adenoy knew he was getting closer to the truth, but he also knew he was playing a dangerous game. If the culprit found out he was investigating, they might come after him. He had to be more careful than ever, but Adenoy wasn't afraid. He knew that solving the mystery was important, not just for him, but for the whole town. Mama Ojo deserved justice, and Adenoy was going to make sure she got it. One night, while walking home, Adenoy heard two people whispering behind a tree. He quickly hid and listened. They were talking about the boy who's been asking too many questions. Adenoy's heart raced. They were talking about him. The voices belonged to two men he didn't recognize. They were planning to scare him so he would stop investigating. But Adenoy wasn't going to let that happen. He was more determined than ever to find out who unalived Mama Ojo. Adenoy decided to visit the oldest man in the town, Baba Amoto. Baba Amoto knew many secrets about the town and its people. Maybe he could help. When Adenoy told Baba Amoto about his investigation, the old man's eyes widened. "There are things you do not know, young one," Baba Amoto said quietly. "Be careful. The truth is hidden for a reason." Baba Amoto didn't say much more, but his words made Adenoy even more curious. What was the old man hiding? The next day, Adenoy went to visit Oyiza, but her mother told him she was sick. Adenoy felt worried. Oyiza had been fine the day before. Was this a coincidence, or had someone hurt her to stop their investigation? Adenoy knew he had to visit her. When he arrived, Oyiza was lying in bed, looking pale. She smiled weakly when she saw him. "Don't worry about me," she whispered. "We're close to finding the truth." Oyiza's illness worried Adenoy, but her determination gave him strength. Even though she was weak, Oyiza whispered something important. "Adenoy, I overheard something before I got sick. The woman with the basket, the one who visited the man in the red hat, her name is Zuli. She's connected to all of this. Be careful." Adenoy's heart pounded. Zuli, the woman with the basket, might hold the key to solving the mystery. He promised Oyiza that he would follow this lead carefully. He couldn't let his friend down, and he couldn't let whoever unalived Mama Ojo get away. Adenoy spent the next few days quietly observing Zuli. She didn't seem suspicious at first. She worked in the market, selling fruits and vegetables, and she smiled at everyone. But Adenoi knew better than to judge someone by their appearance. One afternoon, he saw her walking toward the alley behind the market again. This time, Adenoi followed her closely. She went straight to the abandoned house, just like before. Adenoi's stomach tightened. This was no coincidence. Zuli knew something about Mama Ojo's death, and he had to find out what. Adenoi knew it was risky, but he decided to sneak inside the abandoned house after Zuli left. He waited until it was dark, then carefully opened the old wooden door. The house smelled musty, and it was dark and cold inside. His heart raced as he stepped inside. He saw nothing unusual at first, just some old furniture and dusty floors. But then, in the corner of the room, he noticed something shiny. It was a gold bracelet, half buried in the dust. Adenoi's eyes widened. Mama Ojo used to wear a bracelet just like this one. Adenoi picked up the bracelet, his fingers trembling. He was sure this belonged to Mama Ojo. How had it ended up here? He carefully tucked it into his pocket and quickly left the house before anyone could see him. As he walked home, Adenoi's mind raced. This was proof that Zuli and the man in the red hat were connected to Mama Amina's death. But how could he prove it? He needed more evidence, and he needed to be sure before confronting them. Adenoi couldn't stop thinking about the bracelet. The next day, he decided to talk to Zuli directly. He approached her at the market, holding the bracelet tightly in his hand. "I found this in the abandoned house," he said quietly. Zuli's eyes widened and her face turned pale. She quickly grabbed Adenoi's arm and pulled him aside. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Why were you in that house?" Adenoi could see fear in her eyes. He knew he had touched a nerve. "I want to know the truth," Adenoi said firmly. "What happened to Mama Ojo?" Zuli looked around nervously to make sure no one was listening. "I didn't unalive Mama Ojo," she whispered, "but I know who did. It was the man in the red hat. His name is Bello. He came to town looking for money, and he tried to rob her. Things went wrong. He didn't mean to unalive her." Adenoi's heart sank. Bello had unalived Mama Ojo, but why was Zuli helping him? "Why are you involved?" Adenoi asked, his voice full of emotion. Zuli looked down, ashamed. "I was afraid," she said. "He threatened me. He made me help him hide the evidence. I'm so sorry." Adenoi knew he had to act fast. Bello was still in town, and if he found out that Zuli had confessed, he might run away or worse, hurt someone else. Adenoi decided to confront Bello before he had a chance to escape. The next evening, Adenoi followed Bello to the alley behind the market. Bello was standing near the abandoned house, his red hat low over his eyes. Adenoi's heart pounded as he approached him. "I know what you did," Adenoi said, his voice steady. Bello froze, then slowly turned to face Adenoi. His eyes narrowed. "You're just a kid," he sneered. "You don't know anything." Bello stepped closer to Adenoi, trying to intimidate him, but Adenoi didn't back down. "I know you killed Mama Ojo," Adenoi said bravely, "and I have proof. Zuli told me everything." For a moment, Bello looked shocked, but then his face twisted with anger. "You shouldn't have gotten involved," he growled. "Now you'll regret it." Bello lunged at Adenoi, but Adenoi was quick. He dodged Bello and ran as fast as he could toward the main street, shouting for help. Adenoi's shouts attracted the attention of a nearby shopkeeper, who immediately came to his aid. Bello stopped chasing Adenoi and tried to run away, but by now a crowd had gathered. Several men quickly surrounded Bello, preventing him from escaping. The police arrived soon after, and Bello was arrested. As they took him away, Adenoi felt a mixture of relief and sadness. He had done what he set out to do. He had found the who unalived Mama Ojo and made sure justice would be served. The next day, Zuli came to Adenoi's house. She looked tired and sad, but she also seemed lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted off her shoulders. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I'm sorry for everything. I should have told the truth from the beginning." Adenoi nodded. "It's okay," he said. "What matters is that Mama Ojo will get justice now." Zuli promised to testify against Bello in court, and she vowed to make up for her mistakes by helping the town in any way she could. The trial for Bello began a few weeks later, and Adenoi and Oyiza were there to watch. Zuli testified, telling the judge everything she knew about Bello's plan and how she had been forced to help him. Adenoi also told the court about the clues he had found, including the footprint, the letter, and the bracelet. The evidence was overwhelming, and Bello couldn't deny his guilt any longer. After a long and emotional trial, Bello was sentenced to prison for his crimes. Justice had been served. After the trial, the town of Okene began to heal. People were still sad about Mama Ojo's death, but they were grateful that Adenoyi had solved the mystery and brought the killer to justice. Mama Ojo had been a kind and loving woman, and her memory lived on in the hearts of the people. Adenoyi felt proud of what he had accomplished, but he also felt a deep sense of responsibility. He had learned that even small actions could make a big difference, and he promised himself that he would always stand up for what was right. Word of Adenoyi's bravery spread throughout the town. People admired his courage and determination. Children looked up to him as a hero, and the adults praised him for not giving up, even when things got difficult. Adenoyi didn't feel like a hero, though. He had just done what he thought was right, but he was happy that the town was safe again and that Mama Ojo's family could finally find peace. Oyiza's health slowly improved, and soon she was back to her old self. She and Adenoyi continued to be best friends, and they often talked about the mystery they had solved together. Oyiza teased Adenoyi, saying, "Maybe one day we'll be real detectives." Adenoyi laughed, but deep down, he knew that Oyiza might be right. Solving the mystery of Mama Ojo's death had shown him that he had a special talent for uncovering the truth, and he wondered if this was just the beginning of more adventures to come. One day, a surprise visitor came to Adenoyi's house. It was Mama Ojo's son, who had returned from the city. He thanked Adenoyi for everything he had done. "My mother would be proud of you," he said. "You showed great courage, and you never gave up." As a token of appreciation, he gave Adenoyi a special gift, a beautiful carved wooden box that had belonged to Mama Ojo. Inside the box were some of her most treasured possessions, including a picture of her with Adenoyi when he was younger. Adenoyi felt tears in his eyes as he accepted the gift. Adenoyi sat quietly that evening, looking at the picture of himself with Mama Ojo. He realized how much he had learned over the past few weeks. He had learned that even the smallest person could make a big difference. He had learned that courage wasn't about being fearless, but about doing what was right, even when you were scared. Most importantly, Adenoyi had learned the value of kindness and standing up for others. He knew that he would carry these lessons with him for the rest of his life. To honor Mama Ojo, the town held a special ceremony in her memory. People gathered at her home, sharing stories and memories of her kindness and love. It was a beautiful event, full of laughter and tears. Adenoyi stood among the crowd, feeling proud that he had helped bring justice for his beloved neighbor. Mama Ojo had been a light in the community, and now her spirit would continue to shine through the people she had touched. With Bello in prison and Zuli making amends, the investigation into Mama Ojo's death was finally over. Adenoyi felt a sense of closure, but he also knew that this was only one chapter in his life. There would be other challenges, other mysteries, and other opportunities to make a difference. But for now, Adenoyi was content. He had done what he set out to do, and he had made his town a safer, better place. After all the excitement, Adenoyi returned to his normal routine. He went back to school, played with his friends, and spent time with his family. But things felt different now. Adenoyi felt wiser, more grown up, and more aware of the world around him. His teachers noticed a change in him too. He paid more attention in class, asked even more questions, and was always eager to learn. Adenoyi knew that knowledge was power, and he wanted to be ready for whatever life threw at him next. The story of Adenoyi and the mystery of Mama Ojo's death teaches an important lesson. No matter how young or small you are, you can make a big difference by standing up for what is right. It's not about being the strongest or the bravest. It's about having the courage to do the right thing, even when it's hard. Adenoyi's journey showed that with determination, kindness, and a little help from friends, anyone can be a hero. And sometimes the truth can only be found if you're willing to keep asking questions and never give up. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.